Once upon a time, in the center city of Bamenda in Cameroon, there was a little restaurant named ACHUHUP on Mancon Street, precisely in Mile 4. The aroma of delicious Cameroonian dishes wafted through the air, enticing hungry passers-by to step inside. The restaurant belonged to Momambong from Buffet, to be precise, a skilled cook known far and wide for her mouth-watering achu soup. Momambong was a kind-hearted woman with a warm smile and gentle demeanor. She had a secret ingredient that she believed made her achu soup the best in town: dead body water. Yes, you heard that right. Momambong used water collected from bodies of the deceased to cook her famous dish. Now, you might be wondering how Momambong came to possess such a peculiar ingredient. Well, legend had it that many years ago, Momambong stumbled upon a mysterious spring hidden deep within the forest. This spring passes through a general hospital just behind the area where deceased persons are prepared for their last journeys. The locals whispered that this spring was no ordinary one. This is because different dead body water with different people with different spiritual powers were washed. It was said to be imbued with magical properties. Momambong, curious and adventurous as she was, decided to investigate. Venturing into the heart of the forest where this spring passes, joined with water that was used in bathing dead bodies, Momambong followed the faint sound of trickling water until she stumbled upon the hidden spring. The water sparkled like diamonds under the sunlight, and Momambong felt a strange, almost mystical energy emanating from it. Without hesitation, she scooped up some of the water in a gourd and hurried back to her restaurant. It was then that Momambong discovered the secret to her delicious achu soup. The water from the mysterious spring imbued her dish with an otherworldly flavor that captivated anyone who tasted it. Rich people who heard about the delicious achu soup who traveled from Batibo, Bafut, Banso, and even Kambi just to taste the delicious achu soup. But Momambong knew that revealing her secret ingredient would only bring trouble, so she kept it closely guarded. Every mornings, especially on weekends where many dead bodies are washed to be buried in the weekends, Momambong would rise before the sun, trek into the forest, and collect the precious water from the hidden spring. She would then return to her restaurant and set to work, chopping vegetables, pounding cocoyams, and simmering meat in a large pot over an open fire. As the aroma of her cooking spread through the street of Bamenda, hungry customers would flock to Momambong's restaurant, eager to savor her famous achu soup. Little did they know the secret ingredient that made it so irresistible. Among Momambong's regular customers was a curious young boy named Kofi. He was 10 years old, with bright eyes and an insatiable appetite for adventure. Kofi loved nothing more than to watch Momambong cook, marveling at the way she wielded her knife with skill and precision. One day, as Kofi sat at a table in Momambong's restaurant, slapping up spoonfuls of achu soup, he couldn't help but wonder what made it taste so good. He glanced around furtively, making sure no one was watching, and then approached Momambong. "Momambong," he whispered, tugging at her apron, "what's your secret? Why does your achu soup taste so delicious?" Momambong smiled indulgently at the curious boy. She leaned down and whispered in his ear, "My dear Kofi, the secret lies in the water I use to cook the soup. It comes from a magical spring hidden deep within the forest." Kofi's eyes widened with wonder. "A magical spring? Can I come with you to see it?" Momambong hesitated, torn between keeping her secret safe and satisfying the boy's curiosity. Finally, she relented. "Very well, but you must promise not to tell anyone about what you see." Kofi nodded eagerly, his heart pounding with excitement. He followed Momambong into the forest, his senses alive with the sights and sounds of nature. After a long trek, they reached the hidden spring, its water shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Kofi knelt by the edge of the spring, dipping his fingers into the cool water. He could feel a strange energy coursing through him, filling him with a sense of wonder and awe. It was as if the very essence of the forest had infused itself into the water. Following where the spring met, Kofi noticed that the other water which was used to wash dead bodies from the hospital was mixed with the mysterious spring water. Momambong watched Kofi with a mixture of pride and apprehension. She knew that the boy was now privy to her most closely guarded secret, and she could only hope that he would keep his promise to keep it safe. As they made their way back to the restaurant, Momambong couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at her insides. She had always feared that someone would discover her secret and try to exploit it for their own gain. But she never imagined that it would be a curious young boy like Kofi. Back at the restaurant, Momambong resumed her duties, preparing delicious meals for her eager customers. But her mind was elsewhere, troubled by the thought of what might happen if her secret were to be exposed. Meanwhile, Kofi couldn't stop thinking about the magical spring he had discovered. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that Momambong's secret was too precious to keep hidden away. He wanted to share the wonder of the spring with the world, to let everyone experience its magic for themselves. But as he pondered his dilemma, Kofi couldn't shake the feeling of guilt that gnawed at him. He had promised Momambong that he would keep her secret safe, and he couldn't bear the thought of betraying her trust. Days turned into weeks, and still, Kofi wrestled with his conscience. He knew that he had to make a decision, but the weight of his secret hung heavy on his shoulders. Finally, unable to bear the burden any longer, Kofi made up his mind. He would go to Momambong and confess everything. He would tell her about his desire to share the secret of the magical spring with the world, and he would ask for her forgiveness. With a heavy heart, Kofi made his way to Momambong's restaurant. The familiar smells of cooking greeted him as he stepped inside, but there was a tension in the air that he couldn't ignore. Momambong was nowhere to be seen, and the other customers whispered nervously amongst themselves. Concerned, Kofi approached one of the waitresses and asked her where Momambong was. The waitress looked at him with sad eyes and gestured towards the kitchen. "She's in there, child," she said softly. "But I'm afraid she's not feeling well. She collapsed earlier today, and we're not sure what's wrong." Kofi's heart sank as he hurried to the kitchen. There, he found Momambong lying on the floor, her face pale and drawn. Her breathing was shallow, and she looked as though she were fighting a losing battle. "Momambong!" Kofi cried, dropping to his knees beside her. "What happened? Are you okay?" Momambong opened her eyes and smiled weakly at the boy. "I'm afraid I'm not as young as I used to be, Kofi," she whispered hoarsely. "And the secret of the magical spring has taken its toll on me." Kofi's eyes filled with tears as he realized the truth of Momambong's words. Her quest for perfection had cost her dearly, and now she lay on the brink of death. But even in her weakened state, Momambong's thoughts were not for herself. She reached out and gently cupped Kofi's cheek. "Listen to me, my dear boy," she said, her voice hurt. "Whatever it may be, you must promise me to do what you think is right." Tears streamed down Kofi's cheeks as he nodded solemnly. "I promise, Momambong," he choked out. "I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." With a faint smile, Momambong closed her eyes, her grip on Kofi's hand growing weaker by the second. Kofi stayed by her side, praying for a miracle, but deep down, he knew that Momambong's time was running out. As the hours passed, Momambong's condition continued to deteriorate. The other customers and staff gathered around her, offering words of comfort and prayers for her recovery. But despite their best efforts, there was little they could do to save her. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Momambong drew her last breath. A hush fell over the restaurant as her spirit departed, leaving behind a profound sense of loss and grief. In the days that followed, the people of Bamenda mourned the passing of Momambong, their beloved cook and friend. The restaurant on Mancon Street remained closed, its doors shuttered and its tables empty. But amidst the sadness, there was also a glimmer of hope, hoped that Mama Mong's legacy would live on, not just in her delicious achu soup, but in the hearts and memories of all who knew her. As for Kofi, he wrestled with his guilt and grief in the days and weeks that followed. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had let Mama Mong down, that his desire to share the secret of the magical spring had ultimately led to her demise. But as time passed, Kofi began to find solace in the memories of Mama Mong, in the lessons she had taught him about love, kindness, and the importance of doing what's right. And though he could never fully atone for his actions, he vowed to honor Mama Mong's memory by living his life with integrity and compassion. Months turned into years, and the wounds left by Mama Mong's passing began to heal. The restaurant on Mankon Street reopened its doors, this time under new management. And though Mama Mong was gone, her spirit lived on in every pot of achu soup that was served, in every smile exchanged between customers and staff. As for the secret of the magical spring, it remained just that, a secret. Kofi never spoke of it again, choosing instead to keep his promise to Mama Mong and protect her legacy from her. And so, the story of Mama Mong and her famous achu soup faded into legend, a tale whispered among the people of Bamenda for generations to come. But though time may pass and memories may fade, one thing remains certain: Mama Mong's cooking would always be remembered as the best in town, made with love, skill, and just a hint of magic.